You stole from this company, Emily, and I am giving you one chance to leave quietly. The words came from Oliver Grant's mouth like he had rehearsed them in the mirror. Before you judge me, comment the last receipt, because that sentence was the first brick in a wall he built around my name. I sat across from him in the glass office, my fingers locked around the wooden arms of the chair so tightly my nails hurt. Say that again, I said. Oliver leaned back behind his desk. His navy suit was smooth, his silver watch shining under the cold office lights. You heard me. Denise Harper from HR sat to my left with a yellow legal pad on her knees. She would not look at me. Mark Ellis from finance stood near the window, arms folded, jaw tight, like he had already decided which side was safer. I did not steal anything, I said. Oliver sighed like I had disappointed him. Emily, don't make this worse. My name is not a stain you get to wipe across your desk. His eyes hardened for half a second, then softened again. That was Oliver's talent. He could stab you and sound like he was offering a bandage. I am trying to protect you, he said. From what? From the board. From legal. From the police, if this leaves the building. The word police made my throat close. I heard the air conditioner humming above us. I smelled the sharp lemon cleaner the night crew used on the glass walls. My heartbeat felt too loud for a room that quiet. Denise finally spoke. Emily, we need you to understand the seriousness of the documentation. What documentation? Oliver slid a folder across the desk. It stopped in front of me with a soft scrape. Vendor payment approvals, he said. Unauthorized invoice releases. Duplicate consulting charges. Internal initials on every request. I opened the folder. My stomach dropped before my mind understood why. There were payment forms printed in neat stacks. Each one had my initials beside the approval line. EM. My initials. Not my handwriting. Not my approval. Not my crime. I looked up slowly. These are fake. Mark shifted by the window. Emily. I turned to him. No. Don't say my name like you're already standing at my funeral. He swallowed. I'm just saying the initials match. My initials are 2 letters, Mark. That is not proof. That is kindergarten forgery. Oliver tapped the folder with one finger. The invoices were processed through your department. Our department has 6 people. You were senior analyst on vendor review. I reviewed vendors. I did not invent them. Denise wrote something down. I stared at her pen. Denise, are you taking notes or writing my obituary? Her face tightened. I am documenting the meeting. Then document this. I deny every accusation. I request copies of all evidence. I request a formal investigation. And I want the system logs preserved. Oliver's mouth curved, but it was not a smile. That sounds very practiced. It sounds like someone who knows innocent people still need records. He leaned forward. Emily, you are not thinking clearly. I'm thinking clearer than everyone in this room. His voice became lower. Crestwell Consulting received 12 payments under approvals linked to your login trail. I looked down at the first invoice again. Crestwell Consulting. The name felt wrong in my hands. I have never worked with Crestwell. Oliver lifted his eyebrows. That is not what the documents say. Documents can lie when liars create them. Mark looked at Oliver, then back at me. Crestwell was in the vendor folder. I never onboarded them. You reviewed small vendors last quarter, Oliver said. I reviewed Park Lane Media, Holt Office Supply, and Benson Logistics. Not Crestwell. Denise glanced up. You remember all of them? Yes, because I do my job. The room went quiet again. Oliver folded his hands on the desk. Emily, I am going to make this simple. Resign today. We classify this as poor judgment and internal mismanagement. No public termination. No police report. My breath went shallow. There it was. Not proof. Pressure. You want me to confess without saying confession. I want you to survive your own mistake. I did not make this mistake. Then why are your initials on the approvals? Because somebody put them there. Oliver gave Denise a sad look, like I was breaking his heart. She's panicking. I am sitting right here, I said. Denise's pen stopped moving. Oliver looked back at me. Emily, I hired you. I mentored you. I defended you when people said you asked too many questions. A small, ugly memory clicked open. 2 months earlier, I had stood in his doorway with a vendor report in my hand. Oliver, why are these consulting fees split under different codes? He had smiled then too. Don't overcomplicate small vendors, Emily. We have bigger fires. Now that sentence returned with teeth. I stared at him. You told me to stop questioning small vendors. His face did not move. I tell all analysts not to waste time. No. You told me that after I asked about split consulting fees. Mark's arms loosened slightly. What split fees? Oliver turned his head. Mark, don't get pulled into this. I looked at Mark. You know the pattern. 3 invoices under threshold, same month, same vague description. You flagged something similar in March. Mark's eyes flickered. I flagged duplicate descriptions. I didn't see fraud. Because nobody called it fraud when Oliver told us to move on. Oliver stood. The room changed when he stood. He knew it. He used his height like a title. That is enough. No, I said. It was enough when you put my initials on money I never touched. His palm landed flat on the desk. Denise flinched. I did not. The fear was there, hot behind my ribs, but beneath it was my father's voice from years ago. He had been a mechanic, always smelling like motor oil and winter air, and when I got my first office job, he had hugged me in the driveway. Your name is the only thing nobody can spend for you. Now Oliver Grant was trying to spend mine. He pointed toward the folder. You have until 5 o'clock. For what? To submit your resignation. And if I don't? His expression softened again, which somehow scared me more than his anger. Then I can't control where this goes. I looked at Denise. Did you hear that? She blinked. Hear what? The threat. Oliver laughed once. Don't be dramatic. I am being precise. Mark rubbed his forehead. Emily, maybe take the day. Get some air. Talk to someone. I am talking to everyone who matters right now. Oliver slid a single-page letter across the desk. It was already printed. Resignation. My name at the top. My position. Today's date. My hands went cold. You prepared this before speaking to me. Denise's face drained slightly. Oliver said, standard procedure. No. Standard procedure is investigation first. You prepared my exit before my defense. Denise looked down at the letter, and for the first time, doubt crossed her face. Small. Quick. Real. I stood slowly. The chair legs whispered against the carpet. I am not signing that. Oliver's jaw worked. Then you are suspended pending review. Fine. You will surrender your badge and laptop. I will surrender company property. Not my rights. Denise stood too. Emily, we can arrange for you to collect personal items later. No. I'm taking my purse, my coat, and the framed photo on my desk. Oliver's eyes narrowed. Security will escort you. Good. Then there will be witnesses. That landed. For the first time, he looked irritated instead of concerned. Mark opened the glass door. I walked past him, and he whispered, I hope you're right. I stopped. No, Mark. You hope Oliver is right because that would be easier. His face tightened, but he did not answer. Outside the office, heads turned. Conversations died in little pieces across the finance floor. I kept my chin level. My desk sat under the same fluorescent light where I had eaten lunch, solved late reports, and remembered birthdays nobody else remembered. Now people stared like loyalty was contagious and fear was cleaner. I picked up my purse. My fingers shook when I reached for the framed photo of Dad. I hated that. I hated giving the room even one visible crack. Denise came beside me. I'm sorry it's happening this way. I looked at her. Denise, it didn't happen. It was arranged. She said nothing. Security waited by the elevator. Oliver stood behind the glass, watching. He wanted me small. He wanted me ashamed. He wanted me quiet. So I did the first smart thing I could do. When the elevator doors closed, I pulled out my phone, opened voice memos, and hit record. My voice shook at first. This is Emily Monroe. It is 10:42 a.m. on Tuesday. Oliver Grant just accused me of fraud involving Crestwell Consulting. He offered resignation before formal investigation. He threatened escalation if I refused. Denise Harper and Mark Ellis were present. I looked at my reflection in the elevator doors. My face was pale. My eyes were wet. But my voice steadied. I did not approve those invoices. The elevator dropped floor by floor. And for the first time that morning, so did my fear. By noon, everyone knew. Nobody said fraud when I walked past, but people have ways of speaking without words. A chair stopped rolling. A keyboard went quiet. Someone closed a browser window too fast. I kept walking with my cardboard box against my hip and my father's photo pressed flat under my palm. The office smelled like stale coffee and printer toner, the same smell it had every Tuesday, but now it felt like a room after a fire. Nothing looked burned, yet everything was damaged. Denise followed me to the elevator. Emily, she said softly, don't take the silence personally. I looked at her. Denise, silence is personal when it only starts after one man points at me. Her mouth tightened. People are shocked. People are choosing. That's not fair. No. What's not fair is being accused before being investigated. She hugged her yellow legal pad to her chest. HR has to stay neutral. Neutral would have been asking Oliver why my resignation letter was printed before I answered one question. Her eyes dropped. That was prepared in case she wanted to avoid escalation. Prepared by who? She looked toward Oliver's glass office. That was answer enough. The elevator doors opened, but I did not step in. Denise. Yes? Preserve that letter. It's just a draft. No. It is evidence of intent. Her face changed. Not enough to help me. Enough to remember. I left the building with security behind me and winter air hitting my face so sharply I almost cried from the cold alone. I reached my car, set the box on the passenger seat, and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. My hand still shook. The framed photo of Dad had slipped sideways in the box. His smile looked calm, proud, completely unaware that years after he died, I would be sitting in a parking lot wondering if my career could disappear before lunch. I pressed both palms against the steering wheel. Think, I whispered. Do not break. Think. My phone buzzed. A message from Mark. Emily, I'm sorry about how that went. Oliver said the board is already aware. Maybe cooperating is the safest move. I stared at the word cooperating. Then I typed. Cooperating with an investigation is safe. Signing a lie is not. 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. I waited. Nothing. I opened my personal email and created a new folder. Fraud accusation records. Then I uploaded the voice memo. I took photos of my box, my badge envelope, the timestamp on my phone, and the printed visitor log by the lobby that showed security escorted me out at 10:58. It felt ridiculous. It also felt necessary. When powerful people start moving fast, you have to leave footprints before they sweep the floor. At 1:14, my company email still loaded on my phone. That surprised me. I did not open anything I should not. I did not search private files. I went straight to old approval chains already sent to me, the ones I had forwarded months earlier for vendor clarification. Park Lane Media. Holt Office Supply. Benson Logistics. No Crestwell. Not once. I screenshotted the search results. Then I forwarded the old approval chains to my personal email with one sentence. For preservation only, related to today's accusation. My thumb hovered over send. I heard Oliver's voice in my head. People who look guilty always start hiding things. I hit send anyway. Because preserving truth is not hiding. At 1:32, my access disappeared. The screen refreshed and turned white. Session expired. I leaned back and laughed once, but it came out broken. Of course. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Jenna, the payroll coordinator. Are you okay? I stared at it longer than I should have. Jenna had eaten lunch with me every Wednesday for nearly 3 years. She knew I hated olives. She knew I kept emergency chocolate in my bottom drawer. She knew I stayed late during year-end audits when everyone else escaped. I typed back. No. But I didn't do it. Her reply came slower. I know you're careful. But Oliver told people the documents are bad. I closed my eyes. Careful. Not innocent. Not believed. Careful. That one word hurt more than I expected. When I opened my eyes, there was another message. I'm not saying you did it. I'm just saying it looks serious. I typed. Serious is why people should ask questions. She did not answer. By 2 o'clock, my phone started filling with small betrayals. One coworker removed me from a lunch group chat. Another sent, thinking of you, then deleted it. Someone from accounting texted, I hope this gets resolved, which meant nothing and everything. Then Mark called. I let it ring twice before answering. Emily, he said, where are you? In my car. You shouldn't be talking to people. I'm talking to you. I mean about the investigation. There is no investigation yet. There is an accusation. He exhaled. Oliver says you were under pressure. What pressure? Your mortgage. Your dad's medical bills from before he passed. Stuff like that. My grip tightened around the phone. Oliver told you about my father's bills? There was a pause. He mentioned financial stress. My father died 4 years ago. I paid those bills by selling his truck. I didn't know that. Because it was not Oliver's story to tell. Mark sounded uneasy now. I'm not trying to attack you. Then stop repeating his attack with a softer voice. He's saying there were signs. What signs? That you stayed late. That you were protective of vendor folders. That you snapped when people asked about approvals. I looked at the building through my windshield. The glass reflected gray clouds. I stayed late because Oliver pushed deadline work on me after 5. I protected vendor folders because audit trails matter. And I snapped because Mark, you once asked me to approve a blank reimbursement form. He went quiet. That was different. No. That was office culture until someone needed a scapegoat. His voice lowered. Oliver saved this company twice. People trust him. I trusted him too. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. He sighed. Just be careful. If you fight too hard, it could look like you're hiding something. Something inside me went still. There it was again. The lesson people teach innocent women in offices with glass walls. Be calm enough to be credible. Be quiet enough to be safe. Be wounded, but not inconvenient. I said, Mark, listen carefully. If I go quiet, Oliver controls the story. If I speak, he calls it panic. So I'm done performing innocence for people who prefer comfort. I don't prefer comfort. You prefer Oliver being right. That's unfair. So was watching me walk out and whispering hope instead of truth. He breathed into the line. What do you want from me? Memory. What? Think. Before today, did I ever approve Crestwell Consulting? I don't know. Did you ever hear me mention them? No. Did you ever see Oliver tell me to stop questioning small vendors? Another pause. Longer this time. Maybe. My pulse changed. Maybe? He said you were getting stuck on low-risk vendors. When? Late April, I think. Was anyone else there? Jenna walked by. Denise might have been near the copier. Write that down. Emily. Write it down before your fear edits it. He did not answer. Then he said, I have to go. The call ended. I sat there listening to the deadline. My throat burned, but I did not cry. Not then. Crying would come later, alone, when it could not be misquoted. At 2:41, I drove home and opened my laptop. My personal inbox had the forwarded approval chains. Good. The screenshots were clear. Good. The voice memo was uploaded. Good. Then I searched my calendar. April. Vendor review meeting. There it was. April 23rd. Oliver Grant, Emily Monroe, Mark Ellis. Subject, Q2 vendor cleanup. I clicked the invite. In the notes, I had written one line to myself. Ask Oliver why consulting fees are split under different codes. My skin prickled. I took a screenshot. Then another with the date visible. Then I forwarded it to the same folder. At 3:10, an email arrived from Denise. Emily. Per company protocol, your system access has been suspended pending internal review. Please do not contact employees regarding the matter. Regards. Denise Harper. Human Resources. I read it twice. Please do not contact employees. Not please provide your side. Not please send evidence. Not please cooperate with the audit. Just stop talking. I replied carefully. Denise. I acknowledge the suspension of access. I formally request preservation of all vendor records, approval logs, email chains, PDF metadata, login timestamps, HR notes, meeting records, and drafts related to my resignation or termination. I also request written confirmation that no documents connected to Crestwell Consulting will be edited, deleted, moved, or overwritten. Emily Monroe. I hovered over send. My chest felt tight, but my mind felt clean. I sent it. 5 minutes later, Jenna called. Her voice was almost a whisper. Emily, I can't talk long. Then don't risk yourself. No, listen. Something weird happened. I sat up. What? The shared finance folder. Some old vendor emails are missing. My hand froze above the keyboard. Which ones? I don't know all of them. But I searched Crestwell after people started talking. And? There are folder entries, but the email threads are gone. Gone as in deleted? Moved, maybe. I saw timestamps from this morning. The room seemed to narrow around me. What time? After your meeting. I opened a blank document. Tell me exactly what you saw. Emily, I shouldn't. Jenna, I'm not asking you to steal anything. I'm asking you to remember. She breathed shakily. There was a folder activity log. Around 11:26, several files were moved from shared finance to executive review. By who? I couldn't see the name. Access restricted. Did you screenshot it? No. I panicked. That's okay. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for being scared. Just don't let scared become silent. She was quiet for a moment. I didn't think you did it. That sentence hit harder than all the careful ones. I closed my eyes. Thank you. But Oliver told everyone you had been under review for weeks. I opened my eyes. What? He said HR had concerns before today. My breath stopped for one sharp second. That is a lie. I thought so. Denise looked surprised when he said it. There it was. The second lie. Not just fraud. History. He was not only accusing me. He was building a past where I had always looked guilty. I saved Jenna's call time in my notes. Then I wrote one sentence beneath it. Oliver is changing the timeline. Outside my apartment window, traffic moved through wet streets, tires hissing over the pavement. Inside, my desk lamp threw a small circle of light across my laptop. Small, but enough. I opened every file I had preserved. Voice memo. Screenshots. Calendar invite. Approval chains. Denise's email. My preservation request. I made copies. Then I made copies of the copies. My hands had stopped shaking. The office could whisper. Oliver could smile. Mark could doubt me. Denise could hide behind procedure. But the missing emails had given me something his perfect accusation did not have. A crack. And I was going to widen it. The next morning, Oliver called me from his private number. I knew it was him before I answered. Some people do not need caller ID. Their timing is the signature. Emily, he said, warm as honey, I think yesterday got away from all of us. I stood in my kitchen with one hand on the counter and the other around my phone. Rain tapped against the window in soft, uneven clicks. No, I said. Yesterday went exactly where you pushed it. He breathed out slowly. I don't want this to become a war. You accused me of fraud in front of HR and finance. And I gave you a path out. You gave me a printed confession with nicer margins. There was a short pause. Then his voice softened more. Meet me for lunch. I almost laughed. Lunch? Neutral place. No HR. No tension. Just two people trying to solve a terrible situation. Terrible for who? For everyone. No, Oliver. Be specific. For you, Emily. There it was again. Fake concern with a blade underneath. I looked at the folder on my table. Voice memo. Screenshots. Calendar invite. Email chains. Preservation request. My apartment smelled like burnt toast because I had forgotten breakfast in the toaster. The smell made the room feel smaller, cheaper, more fragile. I thought about my mortgage notice sitting unopened near the lamp. I thought about every recruiter who would run if Oliver got to call me dishonest first. I thought about my father's photo, now resting beside my laptop. Then I said, where? Harper's on 6th. 1 o'clock. I'm not signing anything. Just listen. I listen better when people don't bring traps. His tone stayed gentle. Then don't bring fear. I ended the call before he could hear my breath shake. At 12:47, I parked outside Harper's. The restaurant was busy enough to hide a conversation and quiet enough to control one. Oliver had chosen well. Warm lights hung over polished tables. Silverware clicked. Someone laughed too loudly near the bar. Public noise. Social pressure. A perfect veil. If I got upset, I would look unstable. If I spoke too firmly, I would look guilty. If I left, he would say I refused help. So before I stepped inside, I started a new voice memo and placed my phone face down in my coat pocket. Then I walked in. Oliver stood when he saw me. He wore a gray sweater instead of a suit, like he had dressed as a kind man. "Emily," he said, "thank you for coming. I'm here because you accused me." He glanced around. "Keep your voice down. I am speaking at lunch volume." A server passed with a tray of soup, and Oliver smiled at her like nothing in the world was broken. We sat. He had already ordered water for both of us. I did not touch mine. "You look tired," he said. "I am tired." "That's understandable." "No. You don't get to cause the exhaustion and then admire it." His smile faded. "I am trying very hard to keep this humane." Humane would have been asking for an audit before preparing my resignation. He reached into a leather folder. I stared at it. "Don't." He stopped. "It's not what you think. It never is when you're holding paper." He slid the page halfway across the table. Settlement agreement. Immediate resignation. Mutual non-disparagement. No admission of wrongdoing. Return of company property. Confidentiality. My vision tightened at the edges. "How generous," I said. "You keep your severance. We tell future employers you resigned for personal reasons. The board closes the file internally." "And Crestwell?" His eyes flicked up. "What about it? Who owns it?" He leaned back. "You don't want to go fishing in waters you don't understand." That sounds like advice from someone standing in the water. "Emily." "No." "Answer me." He folded his hands. "Crestwell is a small consulting vendor. You approved payments. That is the issue." "I never approved them. The records disagree." "Then the records need an audit." His jaw tightened. "You keep saying audit like it's a magic word." "No. I'm saying audit like it's the one thing you're afraid of." For the first time, he did not answer quickly. The restaurant noise filled the space between us. Forks. Dishes. Rain against the front windows. My hands were numb under the table, but my voice stayed flat. Oliver leaned forward. "Let me be very clear. If this goes to the board, they will protect the company." "Good. They will not protect you." "I didn't ask them to." "You're not hearing me." "I am." "You're saying sign this or be destroyed." His face changed. "Only a little." "Enough." "I'm saying people who make reckless choices often regret refusing mercy." I looked at the agreement. "Mercy doesn't come with non-disparagement." He pushed the page closer. "Take 24 hours." "No." "Don't be emotional." "I'm not emotional. I'm finished." He looked around again, irritated now. "You are making a spectacle." "No. The spectacle is a CFO meeting an accused employee in a restaurant without HR to pressure her into resigning." His voice dropped. "You are not as smart as you think." I stood. The chair leg scraped against the floor. Only one table nearby glanced over. That was enough for Oliver to smile again. "Emily, sit down." "No." "You're scared." "Yes." That stopped him. I let the truth sit there. I am scared of losing my house. I am scared of my name being dragged through a crime I did not commit. I am scared that people I trained will remember your version before they remember my work." His eyes narrowed. "But I am more scared of what happens if I help you bury the truth." I picked up the agreement, folded it once, and put it in my purse. He reached for it. "That's confidential." "Then you should not have handed it to me." "Emily." "I'll send it to my attorney." His mouth went still. "You have an attorney?" "I have enough sense to know I need one." I left him sitting there with two untouched waters. Outside, rain hit my coat and slid cold down my neck. My legs felt weak, and for a second I leaned against the brick wall beside the restaurant. The world blurred. Not from tears. From the ugly math of survival. Mortgage. Insurance. References. Reputation. One man's lie had reached into every drawer of my life. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Denise. Emily, please call me. I waited until I was inside with the doors locked. Then I called. Denise answered on the first ring. Did you meet Oliver? Yes. Her voice sharpened. He told me he was going to call you. I didn't know he would meet you. That matters to you? It does now. I heard office noise behind her, muffled and tense. Denise, did HR authorize him to offer a resignation agreement today? No. Did HR authorize him to discuss settlement terms privately? No. Are you writing that down? Silence. Then, quieter, I am now. Good. Because I formally request an independent audit. We may not need to. Yes, you do. Emily, internal review is standard. Internal review led by the man who tried to make me resign over soup. She exhaled. I understand your concern. No, Denise. Understand my sentence. I request an independent audit of Crestwell Consulting, vendor onboarding, approval logs, login records, PDF metadata, routing changes, and all communications related to my suspension. That's a broad request. So was accusing me of fraud. Another pause. Then she said, I'll escalate it. Put that in writing. I can't promise. Put something in writing, or my attorney will ask why HR refused to document an audit request after a private resignation attempt. Her voice changed. Not friendly. Not hostile. Careful. I'll send confirmation that your request was received. Thank you. I almost hung up, then remembered something. Denise. Yes? Do you remember Claire Grant coming to the office after hours? Oliver's wife. Pretty. Polished. Always carrying herself like every room had been set up for her arrival. Denise went quiet for too long. When? Late May. Maybe early June. She was near the file room. I saw her once. My pulse moved hard. What was she doing? She said she was waiting for Oliver. She asked me where vendor onboarding files were kept. Denise did not speak. I looked through the rain-streaked windshield. She said Oliver had misplaced a contract template and told her to grab it. That's not appropriate. No. It's not. I need to go, Denise said. Denise. What? Don't let him rewrite your memory before you write it down. She hung up without saying goodbye. I sat in the car until the windows fogged. Then an email arrived. Emily. This confirms receipt of your request for an independent audit and preservation of records related to Crestwell Consulting and your suspension. Regards. Denise Harper. Human Resources. I read it 3 times. It was not victory. It was not safety. It was not belief. But it was a record. And records were starting to outnumber Oliver's smiles. I forwarded the email to my attorney folder. Then I saved the lunch recording. Then I wrote one more note. Claire asked about vendor onboarding files after hours. My hands were cold. My coat was wet. My future still looked like a dark hallway. But now there was a door at the end of it. And Oliver had just helped me find the handle. The independent auditors arrived 3 days later. Nobody announced them loudly. They appeared in the conference room before 9, carrying laptop bags, sealed folders, and the kind of calm that made nervous people talk too much. Denise emailed me at 8:17. Emily. The company has retained Monroe and Vale Forensic Accounting to conduct an independent review of Crestwell Consulting, related vendor approvals, and your suspension. You are requested to attend an interview at 11 a.m. Regards. Denise Harper. Human Resources. I read the email twice. Then I read the firm name again. Monroe and Vale. No relation to me. Still, seeing my last name on the letterhead made me smile for the first time in days. Not because it meant safety. Because it meant Oliver no longer owned the room. At 10:46, I parked outside the building and sat in my car with my folder on my lap. The paper edges pressed into my fingers. My mouth tasted like old coffee and nerves. I had slept badly, waking every hour with the same thought. What if evidence disappears faster than truth can arrive? I looked at my father's photo on my phone. Just walk in clean, I whispered. Then I did. The lobby guard recognized me and looked uncomfortable. Morning, Miss Monroe. Morning, Ben. I'm supposed to have you sign in as a visitor. Then I'll sign in as a visitor. His cheeks reddened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry for following rules. Be sorry only if you know the rules are being used wrong and say nothing. He lowered his eyes and slid the visitor log toward me. I signed my name slowly. Clean. Readable. Mine. Denise met me by the elevators. She wore a black blazer and no jewelry except her wedding ring. Her usual office perfume was gone. She looked like someone who had stopped trying to seem neutral and started trying not to be remembered as careless. Emily, she said. Denise. The auditors are waiting. Is Oliver there? He requested to attend. Of course he did. He was denied for your interview. That stopped me. Denied by who? Denise's voice dropped. Rachel Monroe. Lead auditor. I looked at her. And you're telling me this because? Because I should have told you more things earlier. The elevator doors opened. We stepped in. For once, neither of us filled the silence. Inside the conference room, a woman in her early 50s stood when I entered. Silver hair cut sharp at her jaw. Gray suit. No wasted expression. Emily Monroe? Yes. I'm Rachel Monroe. This is my associate, Thomas Reed. A younger man nodded from behind a laptop. Rachel gestured to the chair across from her. Before we begin, I want to be clear. This is an evidence review. Not a personality contest. My throat loosened. I appreciate that. Denise sat near the wall with her legal pad. Not at the table. That mattered. Rachel opened a folder. We have received your preservation request, your calendar screenshots, email chains, system access timeline, and the voice memo from the day of suspension. Denise looked down. Rachel continued. Do you confirm these materials were provided by you? Yes. Were any altered? No. Were any obtained after your access was suspended? No. My access disappeared around 1:32 p.m. The forwarded emails were sent before that and were already in my mailbox from prior work. Thomas typed. Rachel looked up. Did you approve any payments to Crestwell Consulting? No. Did you onboard Crestwell Consulting? No. Did you communicate with anyone at Crestwell? No. Did Oliver Grant ever instruct you to stop reviewing or questioning small vendor activity? Yes. When? April 23, after the Q2 vendor cleanup meeting. I had written a note to myself about split consulting fees. Rachel turned a page. We have the calendar invite. We also have your note. Denise's pen paused. I felt it like a shift in weather. Rachel said, we also have Mr. Grant's statement. I folded my hands under the table. What did he say? He stated that you managed vendor approvals independently and that he rarely involved himself in low-level consulting payments. I stared at her. That is false. Explain. Oliver reviewed anything near budget sensitivity. He approved exceptions. He also asked me directly to move on from split fees after I questioned them. Rachel's face gave away nothing. Were there witnesses? Mark Ellis was in the meeting. Jenna passed by afterward. Denise may have been near the copier when Oliver repeated that I was overcomplicating low-risk vendors. Denise looked up. Rachel turned slightly. Ms. Harper? Denise's mouth tightened. I remember hearing Oliver say something like that. I didn't understand the context at the time. Rachel wrote one line. Oliver's first wall cracked without a sound. Rachel placed another page in front of me. These are the disputed invoices. Do you recognize the initials? Yes. Are they yours? They are my initials. Not my marks. Thomas clicked something on his laptop. Rachel said, the PDF approval stamps show layering irregularities. I leaned forward. What does that mean? It means the initials appear to have been added after the original document was created. For a second, the conference room blurred. Not because I was weak. Because relief can hit like grief when you have been holding your breath for too long. Denise whispered, "Oh my God." Rachel looked at her. Please refrain from commentary unless asked. Denise nodded quickly. Rachel turned back to me. Ms. Monroe, we need any additional records you have. I opened my folder. The paper made a soft rasp against the table. Voice memo from the day of accusation. Screenshot of the missing shared folder search. Calendar invite. The old approval change showing no Crestwell involvement. Denise's confirmation of my audit request. The lunch agreement Oliver handed me. Rachel's eyes sharpened. Lunch agreement? Yes. He met me at Harper's on 6th without HR present and tried to get me to resign. Denise closed her eyes. Rachel held out her hand. I gave her the folded agreement. She read it once. Then again. Did he characterize this as voluntary? Yes. Was it presented after he accused you of fraud? Yes. Did he mention board escalation or law enforcement? Yes. Do you have a recording of that meeting? I hesitated. My fear returned, quieter but colder. I do. Thomas stopped typing. Rachel's voice remained level. Was this in a public restaurant? Yes. Were you a party to the conversation? Yes. We will let counsel determine admissibility. For our purposes, preserve it. I already have. Rachel nodded. If you believe in receipts, this is where a lie stops being office gossip and starts becoming a timeline. The sentence came out of me before I could soften it. Denise looked at me. Rachel almost smiled. Timelines are useful. At 12:20, they brought Mark in. I stayed because Rachel asked me to. Mark entered like a man walking into church after lying to his mother. He saw me and looked away. Rachel did not waste time. Mr. Ellis, did Ms. Monroe ever mention Crestwell Consulting to you before her suspension? No. Did you ever see her approve Crestwell invoices? No. Did Oliver Grant state that Ms. Monroe was overly focused on small vendors? Mark rubbed his hands together. Yes. When? April. Maybe late April. Was it in relation to split consulting fees? He looked at Oliver's empty chair at the far end of the room, though Oliver was not there. Then he looked at me. Yes. Rachel wrote again. Mark swallowed. I didn't think it mattered. I said, it mattered to me. He nodded, barely. I know that now. Rachel turned her laptop toward us. These are login records for 3 disputed approvals. I stared at the screen. One date glowed at the top. June 6th. That's wrong, I said. Why? I was out sick. Rachel clicked another window. We have your calendar. Urgent care appointment at 9:10 a.m. I looked at Mark. He whispered, you texted me that morning. Rachel said, the approval was recorded from your office workstation at 9:42 a.m. Denise's face went pale. I was not in the building, I said. Rachel nodded. We are aware. The room went very quiet. Then Thomas spoke for the first time. There is another issue. Rachel glanced at him. Go ahead. Thomas turned the laptop back. Crestwell Consulting's bank routing information changed 3 times in 6 months. Rachel asked, dates? March 18th, May 29th, and July 2nd. My skin prickled. I opened my notes. May 29th was around the time Claire Grant came after hours. Denise looked at me. Rachel noticed. Who is Claire Grant? I answered before Denise could. Oliver's wife. Thomas typed faster. Rachel asked, why was she in the office? Denise's voice was quiet. She said she was waiting for Oliver. I said, she asked me where vendor onboarding files were kept. Rachel's eyes lifted. What exactly did she ask? She said Oliver misplaced a contract template and told her to grab it. Mark frowned. Claire was in vendor files? Denise looked sick now. She shouldn't have been near them. Rachel's calm did not break, but the air around her changed. Mr. Reed, compare bank routing changes with executive calendar entries. Thomas worked in silence. The keyboard click sounded like small locks opening. Then he said, each routing change occurred within 24 hours after a private meeting blocked on Oliver Grant's calendar. Rachel asked, meeting titles? Thomas read from the screen. Personal appointment. Private. CG. Denise whispered, Claire Grant. Rachel closed the folder. For the first time, she looked directly at Denise. Ms. Harper, preserve Mr. Grant's calendar, vendor access logs, and any visitor entries for Claire Grant. Denise nodded. Yes. Immediately. Denise stood. This time, she did not look neutral. She looked afraid of being late to the truth. Mark remained seated, staring at the laptop. He said, Emily. I looked at him. I should have asked more questions. Yes. He flinched. I did not soften it. But you can start now. He nodded. I will. When the interview ended, Rachel walked me to the door. We are not done, she said. I know. You should prepare yourself. Fraud investigations rarely collapse neatly. I'm not asking for neat. What are you asking for? I looked through the glass wall at the finance floor. People were pretending not to watch. I'm asking for the truth to survive longer than his lie. Rachel held the door open. Then keep your records organized. I will. I stepped into the hallway with my visitor badge clipped to my coat. The same hallway that had watched me leave like a criminal now watched me return like a question. Oliver stood at the far end near his office. For 1 second, his eyes found mine. No smile. No softness. No fake concern. Just calculation. I touched the folder under my arm. Paper. Proof. Pressure. My heartbeat was steady now. The audit had started breathing. And it had spoken Claire Grant's name. By the 5th day, Oliver stopped smiling. That scared people more than his anger. The office had always understood his moods like weather. When he was charming, everyone relaxed. When he was sharp, everyone moved faster. When he was silent, nobody knew where lightning would land. I returned for another audit interview at 2 o'clock. This time, nobody whispered when I crossed the lobby. They looked away faster. That was different. Not belief yet. Fear. Denise met me near the security desk with a visitor badge already printed. Rachel asked for you directly, she said. Why? She didn't tell me. Did she tell Oliver? Denise's mouth tightened. No. I clipped the badge to my coat. Then he already knows something is wrong. Denise glanced toward the elevators. He's been asking who you spoke to. Of course he has. He asked whether you contacted Mark. Did you answer? I said employee communications are part of the review. I looked at her. That was not an answer. No, she said. It was me learning. We rode up in silence. The elevator smelled faintly of metal and someone's peppermint gum. My stomach twisted, but my shoulders stayed still. I had spent the morning imagining every way this could still go wrong. Maybe the auditors would find a weak spot. Maybe Oliver would invent another timeline. Maybe Claire would become a shadow nobody could legally touch. That was the private fear I carried into the conference room. That the truth could be visible and still not enough. Rachel sat at the head of the table with Thomas beside her. Mark was already there, pale and restless, tapping one finger against his knee. He stopped when he saw me. Emily, he said. Mark. Rachel looked at Denise. Please close the door. Denise did. Rachel opened a file. We have traced Crestwell Consulting's registration. My mouth went dry. She placed one page in the center of the table. Registered owner, Claire Grant. The room did not explode. It tightened. Denise's hand went to her mouth, then dropped as if she remembered she was at work. Mark stared at the paper. Oliver's wife, he said. Rachel looked at him. You know her? I've seen her at company events. Denise whispered, she came to the office. Rachel nodded. Yes. And according to visitor logs, Claire Grant entered the building on May 29 at 6:42 p.m. I felt the date land inside me. Same day as one routing change. Thomas said, correct. Rachel turned another page. Crestwell's mailing address links to a private mailbox rented under Claire Grant's name. Denise closed her eyes. Mark leaned forward. But Oliver said Crestwell was legacy. Rachel's eyes moved to him. Legacy vendors do not usually have shell registration created 4 months before first payment. Mark looked like someone had removed the floor under him. I defended him. I said, yes. His face flushed. I told people he saved the company. I know. I repeated his version. I know. He looked at the table. I was wrong. I wanted to feel satisfied. I did not. His apology arrived too late to protect me from the walkout, the silence, the deleted messages, the fear of my name being dragged through court filings. But it arrived before the boardroom. That still mattered. Rachel said, Mr. Ellis, tell Ms. Monroe what you found. Mark swallowed. I pulled older PDF backups from the archive server. Denise turned to him. You had access? Read only. From a quarterly reconciliation folder. Rachel said, continue. Mark looked at me. The disputed approvals were copied from old forms. Your initials weren't typed fresh. They were layered over blank approval spaces using an image stamp. My pulse slowed. Not fast. Slow. Heavy. And the original forms had no approval initials at all. Denise whispered, so someone added them. Thomas said, after document creation. Rachel added, and before payment release. I looked at Mark. Who had access? He rubbed both hands over his face. Executive finance. Oliver. Possibly his admin. Not regular analysts. Denise sat down slowly. That means Emily could not have done it after suspension. Thomas said, the metadata predates suspension, but company backups show the altered versions were uploaded from an executive terminal. Rachel turned another document around. Terminal assigned to Oliver Grant. No one spoke. The conference room lights hummed above us. The table felt cool under my fingertips. My heart did not race now. It listened. Then the door opened without a knock. Oliver stepped in. Denise stood. Oliver, this meeting is closed. He looked at Rachel. I was told my department is being discussed. Rachel did not move. Your department is under review. That does not entitle you to interrupt interviews. His eyes cut to me. Emily, this is getting out of hand. I almost smiled. You mean out of yours? His jaw tightened. I came here to stop a mistake before it ruins more people. Rachel closed her folder. Mr. Grant, you may schedule your interview through counsel. He ignored her. Emily, do you understand what happens when executives are embarrassed? Denise said, Oliver. He kept his eyes on me. People who embarrass executives rarely work again. The threat sat there clean and ugly. Not hidden inside concern this time. Not wrapped in help. Just teeth. I looked at Rachel. Please document that. Rachel said, already noted. Oliver's face changed when he realized everyone had heard it. He turned to Denise. You're letting her poison this company. Denise's voice shook, but she answered. No, Oliver. I let you pressure HR before we had evidence. That was my mistake. He stared at her. What did you say? Denise looked at Rachel, then at me. I prepared Emily's resignation paperwork because you told me the evidence was conclusive before the audit began. Oliver's voice went flat. Careful. No, Denise said. I should have been careful then. My throat tightened. There was no victory in hearing it. Only confirmation that the door had been locked before I ever entered the room. Rachel asked, Ms. Harper, did Mr. Grant instruct HR to encourage resignation prior to independent review? Denise looked down at her legal pad. Then she raised her head. Yes. Oliver laughed once. She's covering herself. Denise's eyes filled, but she did not look away. Maybe. But I am also telling the truth. Mark stood halfway from his chair. Oliver, why is Claire listed as Crestwell's owner? Oliver turned on him. Sit down, Mark. Mark did not sit. You told us Crestwell was legacy. I said a lot of things you misunderstood. No, Mark said. You said Emily approved those vendors alone. She did. Then why were her initials pasted onto blank forms from your terminal? Oliver's face hardened into something colder than anger. You've been digging where you shouldn't. Mark looked scared. Then he looked at me. Then he stayed standing. I should have dug sooner. That sentence changed the room. Oliver saw it too. Support was not loud. It was simply no longer absent. Rachel stood. Mr. Grant, this interview is over. You will leave now. I am CFO. And this review reports to the board's audit committee, not to you. Oliver stared at her. For the first time since I had known him, his title did not open the door. It closed one. He looked at me one last time. You have no idea what you're starting. I answered quietly. No, Oliver. I know exactly what you started. He left. The door shut behind him with a soft click. Denise sat as if her knees had given out. Mark lowered himself into his chair. Rachel waited 3 seconds before speaking. Ms. Monroe, we are expanding the review. I nodded. To Claire? To Claire Grant, Crestwell Consulting, executive approvals, bank routing changes, and any internal attempt to assign liability falsely. Thomas slid another page forward. There is one more item. I looked at it. A payment schedule. Crestwell Consulting. Final release pending. Amount, $184,000. My breath caught. That was supposed to go out next week? Thomas nodded. Under your initials. Mark swore under his breath. Denise whispered, after Emily was suspended? Rachel said, yes. The room chilled. That was the motive. Not just covering old fraud. Preparing new theft. Oliver had needed me gone before the final payment. He needed my name attached, my access cut, my voice discredited, and my resignation signed before anyone noticed his wife was standing behind the vendor. I looked at the number again. $184,000. A cage built for one last payment. Rachel watched me carefully. Are you all right? I thought about the mortgage notice on my table. The empty lunch chair across from Oliver. The way my coworkers had gone quiet when security walked me out. No, I said. But I'm clear. Rachel nodded once. Good. Clarity is useful. Denise turned to me. Emily, I am sorry. I looked at her. Sorry is a beginning. Not a repair. I know. Mark said, I'll give Rachel everything I preserved. I turned to him. What did you preserve? He reached into his folder. The original archive trail. The blank approvals. The access list. And the April meeting notes. You kept notes? I always keep notes. I almost laughed. Of all the things that could save me, Mark's anxious habit of writing too much had joined the fight. Rachel took the folder. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Mark looked at me. I didn't believe you fast enough. No, I said. His face tightened. But you're here now. He nodded. I'm here now. When I left the conference room, the finance floor was quieter than before. But this silence was different. It was not accusation. It was recalculation. People were doing the math. Claire Grant. Crestwell Consulting. Oliver's terminal. My pasted initials. I passed Oliver's glass office. The blinds were closed. For days, that glass had made me feel exposed. Now the closed blinds made him look trapped. I kept walking. My hands were steady around my folder. Fear was still with me. But it no longer drove. It sat in the back seat while truth took the wheel. The boardroom was colder than the rest of the building. Not dramatically cold. Office cold. The kind that settles in your fingers and makes every glass of water sweat before anyone touches it. I sat at the far end of the long table with Denise on my left and Mark across from me. Rachel Monroe stood near the screen, her laptop connected to the projector. Thomas sat beside her with a stack of printed exhibits clipped in order. Oliver arrived last. He walked in with company counsel at his side and Claire Grant behind him. Claire wore cream wool, pearls, and a face so calm it looked expensive. For a second, my stomach turned. Not because she looked guilty. Because she looked certain guilt was something that happened to other people. Oliver looked at me first. Then he looked at the board. Before this begins, he said, I want it noted that Emily Monroe has become emotionally invested in destroying my reputation. Rachel did not look up from her laptop. It will be noted that you made that statement. Oliver pulled out a chair. She was suspended for serious irregularities. Now suddenly my wife is being dragged into a financial review based on speculation and personal resentment. I felt every eye move toward me. My lips were dry. My hands were folded in my lap beneath the table. I could feel the fabric of my coat between my fingers, smooth and thin, and I held it like an anchor. Rachel said, Ms. Monroe is not presenting today. I am. Oliver smiled faintly. Of course. Claire sat beside him. She did not look at me. That told me more than if she had. A board member named Patricia Wells leaned forward. Ms. Monroe, are you comfortable being present? Oliver gave a small laugh. Comfort has not been our guiding principle lately. I looked at Patricia. I am not comfortable. But I am present. Rachel clicked the first slide. The projector fan hummed. On the screen appeared a timeline. Crestwell Consulting. Vendor creation. Bank routing changes. Payment approvals. My suspension. Final pending release. Rachel spoke evenly. This review began after allegations that Emily Monroe approved fraudulent payments to Crestwell Consulting. The evidence does not support that allegation. Oliver shifted in his chair. Rachel continued. The evidence supports a different sequence. Claire crossed one ankle over the other. Crestwell Consulting was registered 4 months before its first payment, Rachel said. The registered owner is Claire Grant. The boardroom changed. One board member inhaled sharply, then no one else moved. One reaction. That was all the room needed. Oliver said, "My wife has business interests." That is not illegal. Rachel nodded. Correct. Owning a business is not illegal. Concealing a related party vendor while routing payments through altered internal approvals is another matter. Claire finally looked at Rachel. That sounds like an accusation. It is a finding. Oliver's hand closed around his pen. Finding based on what? Rachel clicked again. Visitor logs show Claire Grant entered the office after hours on May 29 at 6:42 p.m. Within 24 hours, Crestwell's bank routing information changed. Claire said, "I came to see my husband." Denise spoke quietly. You asked where vendor onboarding files were kept. Claire turned to her. I asked for a contract template. Denise's voice trembled once, then steadied. You should not have been near vendor records. Oliver snapped, Denise, enough. Patricia looked at him. No, Oliver. Let her answer. Denise kept her eyes on the table. Oliver told me the evidence against Emily was conclusive before any audit began. He asked HR to prepare resignation paperwork before Emily had been interviewed. Oliver's chair scraped back once. There it was. One hard sound against the floor. He stood halfway, then stopped when counsel touched his sleeve. That is a mischaracterization. Rachel clicked again. The resignation document appeared on the screen. Drafted at 9:03 a.m. The accusation meeting began at 10:15 a.m. Patricia looked at Oliver. Why was resignation paperwork prepared before the employee was interviewed? Oliver sat back down. Because I was trying to limit damage. I looked at him. To the company? He looked at me. To everyone. No, I said. To you. Rachel clicked to the next slide. A disputed invoice appeared. My initials sat near the approval line. EM. I had seen them so many times now they no longer frightened me. They looked like what they were. A costume. Rachel said, the initials attributed to Ms. Monroe were not entered during normal approval workflow. They were image stamped onto blank forms. Oliver said, that could have been done by anyone with document access. Thomas answered. Not anyone. The altered PDFs were uploaded from an executive finance terminal assigned to Oliver Grant. Oliver's eyes cut to Thomas. Terminals can be accessed by staff. Rachel clicked again. Building access logs show Ms. Monroe was not on site for 3 disputed approvals. One occurred while she was at urgent care. Another occurred after her system access had already been restricted from vendor entry. A third was uploaded during an executive calendar block labeled private. Claire said, this is absurd. Rachel did not look at her. Absurdity is not an audit response. Mark leaned forward. I found the archive versions. Oliver turned to him slowly. Mark. Mark swallowed. His voice was low, but he did not stop. The original backups had no Emily initials. The approval spaces were blank. The altered versions came later. You are not a forensic analyst, Oliver said. No. But I can read timestamps. Patricia asked, were the archive files independently verified? Rachel said, yes. The projector clicked again. This time, the screen showed the final pending payment. $184,000. Crestwell Consulting. Approval initials, EM. Release authorization, Oliver Grant. The room went still. Rachel said, this payment was scheduled for release next week under Ms. Monroe's copied initials. But the final release authorization was personally approved by Oliver Grant. Oliver's face lost color. One reaction. Not rage. Not shouting. Just the blood leaving his expression as the cage closed. He said, that was a routine authorization. Rachel clicked once more. The metadata appeared. Company backups show the document carrying Ms. Monroe's initials existed before she was suspended. The release authorization was added after Mr. Grant had already represented to HR that Ms. Monroe was solely responsible. Oliver's counsel leaned toward him. Do not answer further. Claire whispered, Oliver. It was the first time she sounded human. Rachel looked at the board. Based on the evidence, the fraud was not committed by the employee accused. The record indicates altered approvals, related party concealment, improper routing changes, and an attempted assignment of liability to Emily Monroe. Patricia folded her hands. Ms. Monroe, did you ever receive money from Crestwell Consulting? No. Did you authorize any payment to Crestwell? No. Did you know Claire Grant owned it? No. Not until the audit. Oliver said, she's performing. I turned to him. No. The room held its breath. I performed when I kept my voice calm while security walked me out. I performed when coworkers stared at me like fraud was written on my coat. I performed when you invited me to lunch and tried to sell silence as mercy. He stared at me. My chest hurt, but my voice stayed level. This is not performance. This is my name coming home. No one spoke. For 1 second, grief moved through me so cleanly I could almost touch it. I grieved the desk I had loved. The team I had trusted. The version of myself that believed good work protected good people. Then Rachel closed her laptop. The projector fan kept humming into the silence. Patricia spoke. Effective immediately, Oliver Grant is placed on administrative leave pending referral to legal counsel and the audit committee's full review. Oliver's counsel whispered again, sharper this time. Patricia continued. All payments to Crestwell Consulting are frozen. Claire Grant's vendor access and payment history will be referred for legal evaluation. Ms. Monroe's suspension will be reviewed separately from the original allegation. Claire stood. This is humiliating. Patricia looked at her. No. This is consequence. Oliver did not stand right away. When he did, he adjusted his jacket like dignity could be buttoned back into place. He looked at me. You think this is over? I answered softly. No. I think it finally started telling the truth. Counsel guided him toward the door. Claire followed. Her pearls caught the boardroom light as she passed, small and white and useless. The door closed behind them. No applause. No crowd noise. No dramatic collapse. Just a room full of people realizing that silence had almost made them useful to a lie. Patricia turned to me. Ms. Monroe, the company owes you a formal correction. I looked down at my hands. They were steady. I don't want careful language. You'll have legal language. I want accurate language. Rachel said, accuracy is available. For the first time, I smiled. Not wide. Not victorious in the way movies make victory look. Just enough to feel my face belonged to me again. Denise wiped under one eye quickly. I should have stopped the resignation letter. Yes, I said. She nodded. I know. Mark said, I should have spoken up before the audit forced me to. Yes. He looked down. I know. I stood and gathered my folder. The chair moved back softly, barely a sound. Patricia asked, are you leaving? For today. We may need another statement. You'll have it. Rachel walked with me to the boardroom door. You held up well. I looked through the glass wall at the office beyond. People were moving slowly, carefully, like the building itself had been caught lying. I shouldn't have had to. No, Rachel said. You shouldn't. I stepped into the hallway. My visitor badge brushed against my coat with each step. For days, that small plastic card had made me feel temporary. Now it felt like proof that I had entered the room as an accused woman and walked out as a witness. Not cleared fully yet. Not repaired. But no longer alone under his story. Behind me, the boardroom door clicked shut. Ahead of me, Oliver's office blinds stayed closed. And this time I did not wonder what he was doing behind them. I already knew. He was learning what every liar learns too late. A clean name can be cornered. But it does not stay quiet forever. The formal correction came 2 days later. Not as fast as the accusation. Lies move like fire. Truth moves like paperwork. Denise called me at 9:05 on Friday morning. Emily, she said, the board has approved the correction letter. I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot on cold tile, holding a mug I had not taken one sip from. What does it say? That the company's preliminary allegation against you was unsupported by the audit findings. No. She went quiet. What do you mean? I mean that sentence sounds like a lawyer washing blood off a knife. Emily. Read the next version. There isn't another version. Then make one. She exhaled. I don't have authority to rewrite board language. You had authority to hand me a resignation letter before an interview. That silence had weight. I almost regretted saying it. Almost. Then Denise said, "You're right." I closed my eyes. The kitchen smelled like coffee and rain through the cracked window. My shoulders hurt from days of sleeping badly, from carrying my own innocence like a box nobody else wanted to touch. What do you want it to say? She asked. The truth. Give me the sentence. I looked at Dad's photo on the counter. Then I said it slowly. Emily Monroe did not approve, authorize, or benefit from any fraudulent payments to Crestwell Consulting. Denise typed. And? The company retracts the allegation and confirms her employment record will show no misconduct. More typing. And? I swallowed. The company regrets the handling of her suspension. Denise stopped typing. That one will be harder. Then hard is finally honest. She breathed out. I'll take it back to Patricia. Thank you. Emily? Yes? I know sorry is still not repair. No, I said. But today it sounds less empty. By noon, Patricia Wells called me herself. Her voice was formal, but not cold. Ms. Monroe, we have revised the letter. Does it say I didn't do it? Yes. Does it say my record is clean? Yes. Does it say the allegation is retracted? Yes. I sat down slowly. The chair felt warm from morning sunlight. For 1 second, I could not speak. Patricia waited. Then she said, "You also have 2 options. Reinstatement with reporting changes, or separation with severance, legal protection, and a full recommendation." I looked at the wall across from me. There was a small nail hole where a clock used to hang. I had taken it down the night Oliver accused me because every tick sounded like a deadline. Would Oliver still be there? No. Oliver Grant has been terminated for cause pending further legal review. Claire Grant and Crestwell Consulting have been referred to counsel. And the team? There will be restructuring. That doesn't answer my question. No, Patricia said. It doesn't. I appreciated that more than a polished lie. I gave that place 7 years, I said. I know. No, you know the number. You don't know the years. She was quiet. I knew everyone's birthdays. I trained Mark when he joined. I built the vendor checklist Oliver later used to frame me. I stayed late during audits because I thought the work mattered. It did matter. Then why did nobody protect the worker doing it? Patricia did not rush to answer. Finally, she said, because the company trusted authority faster than evidence. That sentence landed clean. Not enough. But clean. I looked at Dad's photo again. Send me the separation package. Patricia's voice softened. You're sure? I'm sure. We would understand if you needed time. I already spent enough time inside Oliver's story. The final meeting happened the following Monday. Not in the boardroom. Not in Oliver's glass office. In a smaller conference room with one window, one round table, and no performance. Denise was there. Mark was there. Patricia was there. Rachel joined by video, calm as ever, a square of steady truth on the screen. Patricia handed me the letter first. I read every word. Emily Monroe did not approve, authorize, or benefit from any fraudulent payments to Crestwell Consulting. The company retracts the allegation. Her employment record reflects no misconduct. The company regrets the handling of her suspension. My throat tightened. I read it again. Not because I doubted it. Because for days, my name had been dragged through rooms before I entered them. Now it was finally standing upright on paper. Denise slid another envelope toward me. Severance terms. Recommendation language. Legal protection. Reference contact through Patricia only. I looked at her. Not HR? Her face lowered. No. Patricia. Good. Mark placed a folder beside the envelope. What's that? Copies of everything I preserved. Archive trail. April notes. Blank approval versions. Access list. You already gave them to Rachel. I know. These are for you. I opened the folder. His handwriting filled the first page. April 23rd. Emily asked about split fees. Oliver said not to overcomplicate small vendors. I looked up. You wrote that down? I wrote everything down. You just didn't speak. He flinched. No. The room went still. Then he said, I'm sorry. I studied him. This was the part people want to make simple. Forgive him. Punish him. Move on. But real dignity is not a slogan. It is a boundary you can live with after everyone leaves. I believe you're sorry, I said. His eyes lifted. But I needed courage from you before evidence made it safe. He nodded. I know. Next time someone powerful points at the quiet person, ask who benefits from the silence. His mouth pressed tight. I will. Denise wiped her thumb against the edge of her legal pad. I should have doubted Oliver sooner. Yes. I should have asked why the resignation was ready. Yes. I should have protected process before protecting the company's image. I looked at her. That is the first HR sentence I believed. A small, sad smile crossed her face. I deserved that. No, I said. You earned it. Patricia stood. Ms. Monroe, on behalf of the company, I apologize. I stood too. Put it in the file. It will be. Put the correction where the accusation went. Patricia nodded. We will inform necessary leadership that the allegation was retracted. No whispers. No whispers. I picked up the letter. The paper was heavier than it looked. At the door, I stopped. Oliver's office was visible down the hall. The blinds were open now. The desk was empty. No silver watch. No leather folder. No man behind glass deciding whose name could be sacrificed. I walked to my old desk one last time. My badge lay there in a small plastic tray. Denise said, you can keep it if you want. I touched the edge of it. For 7 years, that badge opened doors. Then one day, it became proof I had been locked out. I picked it up and placed it on the desk, face down. No, I said. It belongs to the building. Mark stood a few feet away. Emily? I turned. For what it's worth, people know now. I looked across the finance floor. Some faces dropped. Some held my gaze. Jenna stood near payroll with tears in her eyes. She whispered, "I'm sorry." I nodded once. Not forgiveness. Not punishment. Acknowledgement. That was enough for that room. Outside, the air was warmer than it had been all week. Sunlight hit the glass doors, and for the first time since the accusation, the building looked smaller behind me. Not harmless. Just smaller. I sat in my car and opened the correction letter again. My name was there. Clean. Not because the company gave it back. Because I refused to let them keep it. I thought about Oliver telling me I had one chance to leave quietly. He was wrong. Quiet was never my only chance. Truth was. So if you have ever been blamed by someone powerful, if you have ever watched a room believe a polished liar before a scared honest person, tell your story below. And remember this. When the lie is loud, keep receipts. When the room goes silent, keep your voice. And when the truth finally walks in, let the last receipt remind them your name was never theirs to spend.